Adrian Holt possessed an empire, a fortune that stretched beyond the wildest dreams of most, and a name that resonated with undisputed authority in the highest echelons of global finance. His mansion, a sprawling edifice of polished marble and dark wood, could swallow sound, its vast halls amplifying the quiet until it felt like a presence. Yet, night after solitary night, as he presided over the grand, empty expanse of his dining table, an oppressive stillness would descend, an icy shroud that clung to him more faithfully than any shadow. Once blessed with the acute hearing of a virtuoso, a brutal, swift illness in his early 30s had ravaged his auditory nerves, stealing his world of sound in mere months and leaving him marooned in an unyielding, permanent silence. The vibrant tapestry of human life, its boisterous laughter, its whispered confessions, its everyday hum, continued to weave itself, but Adrian remained a silent observer, walled off by an impenetrable barrier, yearning for the most fundamental human connection, the simple, resonant sound of another living soul. His numerous staff and business associates revered his acumen and feared his formidable reputation. Yet not a single person truly knew the man beneath the legend. His immense wealth, while shielding him from myriad worldly concerns, ironically deepened his isolation. With each passing year, the silence tightened its grip, transforming into both his most constant companion and his most relentless tormentor. If this tale resonates with your belief in kindness, the transformative power of second chances, and the unexpected miracles life can unveil, we invite you to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Let us know where you're watching from. Despite his assiduous attempts to fill the void with Epicurean delights, curated classical art, or philanthropic endeavors, the emptiness persisted, an unyielding chasm within him. His mansion, once alive with the joyous cacophony of music and glittering soirees, had become a mausoleum of echoes, a silent museum of memories he could no longer fully inhabit. Though his discreet staff moved like phantoms through the hushed hallways, their movements muted, their tasks performed with impeccable quiet, polishing antique silverware, preparing exquisite but solitary meals, Adrian existed parallel to their lives, a spectral figure rather than a participant. His communications were reduced to formal written notes or sparse, precise gestures, rendering interactions brief, purely transactional, and devoid of genuine warmth. His very soul had grown heavy, burdened by a profound loneliness that even the boundless reach of his fortune could not begin to remedy. Within the vast, quiet confines of this mansion, a stark contrast to Adrienne's privileged solitude, moved Rosa Melendez. A woman of humble origins, her slight frame belied the immense burdens she carried, a testament to a life that had often dealt harsh blows, yet which she met with an unwavering, quiet resilience. She approached her duties as a cleaning lady not merely as a job, but with a profound respect for the mansion's history and its silent inhabitant. Each antique furnishing was polished with meticulous care, every surface treated as if it held a delicate, living spirit. And without fail, she would offer Adrian a gentle, soft smile whenever their paths crossed, a silent gesture of human warmth, knowing full well he would never hear the accompanying, unspoken greeting. Recently, Rosa had been blessed with a son, Mateo, a vibrant, energetic baby boy whose bright, curious eyes seemed to absorb all the light in a room. His infectious giggle, a pure, unadulterated sound of joy, had the miraculous ability to fill any space with the warmth of sunshine. Faced with the impossible dilemma of finding childcare during her long, late evening shifts, and with no family nearby to assist, Rosa had no choice but to bring Mateo with her. She ensured he remained strictly within the designated staff area, meticulously supervised, so as never to cause the slightest disturbance to the mansion's hallowed quiet or its reclusive master. One particularly crisp autumn evening, as twilight bled into the deep indigo of night, Adrian once again occupied his solitary throne at the head of the immense dining table. A steaming, artfully prepared dinner, a culinary masterpiece, sat before him, a symphony for the eyes, yet utterly flavorless to his desolate heart. The crystal chandelier above cast a warm, golden glow across the opulent room, but the air around him remained thick and unmoving, heavy with the weight of unspoken words and unseen emotions. That night, the ache of silence was more profound, more suffocating than usual, a relentless, crushing reminder of the vibrant world he had irrevocably lost. Far away, in the discreet staff quarters, a small, momentous escape was unfolding. Matteo, a bundle of boundless energy and innocent curiosity, managed to wriggle free from the confines of the padded playpen where Rosa had carefully placed him. Driven by an irresistible impulse, a toddler's pure, unadulterated wonder, he began to toddle unsteadily down the hushed hallway, drawn by the soft, beckoning glow emanating from the grand dining room. Before Rosa, momentarily distracted by a task, could even register his absence, the tiny, determined, and utterly innocent child slipped silently into the magnificent chamber where Adrian dined in splendid isolation. Adrian, usually lost in the silent tableau of his own thoughts, looked up. His gaze, accustomed to the unchanging emptiness, suddenly sharpened, apprehending the impossible sight of a small, luminous figure standing beside his chair. A tremor of raw surprise, a sensation he hadn't permitted himself in decades, fractured his carefully cultivated stern composure. Matteo, with his plump, curious hands and a wide, untroubled grin, seemed utterly captivated not by Adrian himself, but by the shimmering elegance of the expansive table, by the gleaming silverware, and perhaps, by the lone, silent man perched at its formidable head. An unfamiliar sensation bloomed within Adrian's chest, a bewildering mix of confusion and a faint, almost forgotten warmth, a spark he hadn't felt since childhood. Moments later, Rosa burst into the room, her eyes wide with horror, her face a mask of mortification. She flung herself forward, a torrent of frantic, silent apologies conveyed through desperate gestures, attempting to scoop Matteo into her arms and whisk him away before irrevocable damage could be done. But then, an extraordinary, utterly unexpected thing occurred. The baby, unexpectedly strong and determined, resisted her grasp, pushing away and reaching his tiny hands directly toward Adrian, letting out a pure, uninhibited squeal of delight. Though Adrian, in his profound deafness, could not hear the sound, he distinctly felt its vibrant tremor in the very air, a forgotten sensation, a vibration that resonated subtly through the polished surfaces around him, a physical manifestation of joy he hadn't been aware of noticing in years. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, a genuine, unbidden smile, fragile as spun glass, dared to grace Adrian's lips. He raised a gentle hand, a subtle but unmistakable motion, signaling to a stunned Rosa that she should stay, that it was, inexplicably, all right. Hesitant, her cheeks burning with embarrassment, Rosa slowly set Matteo back down. Without missing a beat, the little boy, his bright eyes wide with wonder, immediately began to crawl, with surprising speed, directly toward Adrian's elaborate dinner plate, utterly mesmerized by the vibrant colors of the exquisite food and the dazzling reflections dancing off the ornate silverware. Adrian watched the child with a nascent, almost overwhelming tenderness, a sensation that bloomed unexpectedly in his long-dormant heart. A strange, almost buoyant lightness began to stir within his chest, pushing back against the familiar weight of his solitude. Then Matteo performed an act so profoundly simple, yet so utterly unexpected, that it brought the entire silent room to a standstill. The toddler, with an instinctual wisdom far beyond his tender age, reached out his tiny hand and gently placed his palm flat against Adrian's chest, directly over his heart. He then looked up into Adrian's eyes, his own bright gaze holding a depth of seriousness and unwavering innocence that seemed to peer directly into Adrian's very soul. That singular, simple touch, warm, guileless, and so profoundly, utterly human, sent an electrifying shiver through Adrian's entire being. It had been an unfathomable age since anyone had dared to touch him with such pure, unadulterated affection, devoid of any trace of hesitation, deference, or, most importantly, pity. The baby then babbled something, a torrent of joyful, nonsensical sounds that Adrian, by all accounts, could not hear. Yet, he felt them a vibrant, resonating hum against his chest, a sensation that transcended mere hearing. conveying a message of pure, unrestrained life in a way he couldn't possibly explain. It was as if Matteo's small, determined presence had, with that single touch, effortlessly cracked open a rusted, long impenetrable door deep within Adrienne's heart. A door that had been sealed shut for far too many silent years. The very next evening, an almost unheard-of request was conveyed. Adrienne, with a meticulousness that belied the tender nature of his query, penned a formal note to Rosa, asking if she would, perhaps, consider allowing Matteo to visit the dining room once more. Rosa, utterly stunned and momentarily speechless by this extraordinary overture, could only nod her agreement, a mix of apprehension and hope flickering in her eyes. What began as a cautious experiment swiftly blossomed into a cherished daily ritual. Each evening, as Adrienne sat down for his austere, formal meal, Matteo would be there, a beacon of bright energy. He would sit perched on a booster seat at the immense, polished table, his vibrant pink lunchbox a cheerful splash of color against the somber elegance, meticulously arranged beside Adrienne's own silver service. Sometimes, the child would clap his chubby hands together, the rhythmic thud a faint vibration Adrienne could feel. Other times, he would wave his hands wildly, his movements a blur of innocent joy. Or, most intimately, he would press his soft cheek against Adrienne's arm, a fleeting, tender touch that sent warmth radiating through the millionaire's accustomed coldness. Whispers began to ripple through the mansion staff, a hushed chorus of awe and disbelief, as they observed the quiet, unapproachable millionaire undergoing a profound, undeniable transformation, visibly softened and enlivened by the pure, unfiltered presence of a child. Days blurred into weeks, and Adrienne's once immutable silent world began to shift, subtly at first, then with increasing profundity, in ways he struggled to articulate. He found himself noticing the world with a heightened sensitivity he hadn't possessed even before his deafness. The faint, rhythmic vibrations of approaching footsteps, the delicate rustle of curtains stirred by an unseen breeze, even the quiet, consistent hum of his own breath. These were no longer imperceptible background noises but distinct, tangible sensations. Doctors had once delivered the unequivocal prognosis that his hearing was irretrievably lost, a permanent void. Yet, something profound had awakened within him, a dormant part of his being now responding to the world in small, miraculous, exquisitely felt ways. He wasn't hearing in the conventional sense, but he was undeniably feeling life again, reconnecting to its subtle pulse, embracing its intricate textures and, for the first time in years, truly living within its embrace. Then, one particularly poignant evening, as Rosa quietly moved about, clearing the remnants of dinner, Matteo, nestled comfortably on Adrienne's lap, performed another of his innocent, groundbreaking acts. With the boundless curiosity of a child, he leaned forward, pressing his tiny ear against Adrienne's chest, his face alight with discovery as he found the steady, rhythmic thump of a heartbeat within. A soft giggle, a pure, unadulterated burst of joy, bubbled up from Matteo, vibrating against Adrienne's very core. Adrienne didn't just feel the physical reverberation of that giggle. He felt its profound emotional resonance deep within his spirit. It was so powerful, so utterly alive, so brimming with everything he had tragically believed he had lost forever. In that singular moment, the carefully constructed dam of his lifelong emotional restraint fractured, and hot, unbidden tears began to stream silently down his face, a raw, undeniable testament to the depth of emotion he could no longer contain. Rosa, startled by the sudden, silent shift in the room's atmosphere, froze mid-motion, her eyes wide with shock. She had, in all her years working in the mansion, never once witnessed Adrienne Holt cry. He raised a hand, shaking his head gently, a clear, tender signal. These were not tears of sorrow or despair, but tears of release, of rediscovered life, of profound, overwhelming joy. As Matteo's daily visits continued, deepening their unique bond, Adrienne embarked on a surprising and deeply personal journey of learning. He began to master a new language, a nuanced tapestry of gestures, subtle facial expressions, and tender, responsive touches, all dedicated to communicating with the little boy who had shattered his silence. The mansion, once a bastion of oppressive quiet, was no longer truly silent. It vibrated now, not with audible sound, but with an palpable echo of life, a pervasive warmth, and an uncontainable joy that effortlessly transcended the very need for sound itself. Rosa, ever observant, couldn't help but notice Adrienne's burgeoning, profound attachment to her son. A quiet worry began to form within her, a fear that, perhaps, this unexpected bond might deepen Adrienne's loneliness in ways she, despite her empathy, could never fully grasp. But instead of retreating, instead of allowing distance to creep back in, Adrienne did something that sent shockwaves through the entire household, stunning Rosa and every single person who thought they knew the reclusive millionaire. He made an unprecedented arrangement. He offered Rosa and Matteo a beautiful, private cottage nestled within the sprawling mansion grounds, complete with a significantly enhanced salary and the promise of an utterly safe, nurturing environment for Matteo to grow and thrive. Rosa, utterly overwhelmed by a deluge of kindness she had never, in her wildest dreams, expected, broke down in profound, grateful tears. Adrienne, the man once considered utterly unreachable, emotionally impenetrable, and distant beyond measure, found himself, by a pure, serendipitous twist of fate, inadvertently forging a new kind of family, a vibrant, unexpected connection with two souls who had simply, innocently, walked into his carefully constructed, solitary life. If this deeply moving story touches your heart or serves as a poignant reminder of the profound beauty found in unexpected kindness, please show your support. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your engagement helps ensure these uplifting stories reach even more hearts across the globe. Before we conclude, tell us in the comments, would you allow a small, innocent act to fundamentally change the course of your own life? And so, as Adrienne watched Matteo drift into peaceful sleep in Rosa's tender arms one particularly quiet, star-dusted evening, a profound and complete understanding finally settled upon him. He grasped the true, unparalleled miracle the baby had bestowed upon his life. It wasn't merely the faint, almost imperceptible return of sensation, nor just the subtle, fragile cracks that had begun to appear in his long-held, lonely silence. No, it was something far grander, far more essential. It was the rediscovery of genuine human connection, the rekindling of unconditional love, the exquisite, exhilarating sensation of truly feeling alive again. What the world, in its cynical wisdom, might have deemed unthinkable, a mere impossibility, was simply, in its purest essence, a moment of unfiltered, unadorned humanity. And in that sacred, transformative moment, Adrienne realized, with a clarity that resonated through his entire being, that he no longer dined alone at that vast, silent table, because, more importantly, his heart, that long-shuttered, desolate chamber, was finally, gloriously, no longer alone.